It all started the morning I noticed a cigarette burn on my bathrobe. I was standing in the kitchen, waiting on the coffee to finish brewing. A tiny black circle right over the left pocket of my robe. Burn mark. I leaned closer, ran my fingers over the edge like I needed to convince myself it wasn't just coffee or dirt, but it wasn't. It was a burn, like someone had pressed a cigarette into the fabric. Definitely. The thing is, I don't smoke. Never have. Not even in college when everyone around me lit up like it was part of growing up. Wasn't my thing. And this was my robe, my favorite flannel one. I wear it only at home, only in the mornings, and not even every morning. So how the hell did this happen? My first thought was Jean. She's smoked since the day I met her. I remember exactly how, outside a used bookstore, one hand flicking a lighter, the other holding a worn copy of Virginia Woolf. It was part of her whole thing. She had this romantic, chaotic energy back then, like the world would always smell like rain and old books and nicotine around her. She promised to quit more times than I can count, but never really did. I got used to the scent of tobacco in her hair, the ashtray by the window, the little boxes of lighters in her purse like loose change. But one thing never made sense. Jean never wore my clothes. She hated wearing anything that wasn't hers, even at home. Her pajamas, robes, sweaters, everything was picked with this weird kind of precision. She even packed her own slippers for hotels because the idea of wearing shared ones grossed her out. And now, somehow, my robe had a cigarette burn in it. Something didn't line up. I kept staring at it like maybe it would blink first. My chest started to tighten, not in some big dramatic way, just enough to remind me that something was off. Something was slipping out of place. That little voice in the back of your mind that says, "Hey, pay attention." I walked into the bedroom. Jean was brushing her hair, casual as ever, wearing one of her soft gray sweaters, the kind she wore when she wanted to look like she hadn't tried at all. Her mug of green tea steamed on the nightstand. "Jean?" I said. She didn't look up. "Hmm? Can you come here for a sec?" She padded into the room, holding her tea with both hands like it was something sacred. "What's up?" she asked, glancing at me, then at the robe I was holding. I turned it so she could see the burn. "What's this?" She blinked once. Her eyes narrowed just slightly. Then she shrugged. "Oh, maybe I did that by accident," she said, too casually. "When I hugged you or something." She took a sip from her tea, then added, "I probably had one in my hand." She didn't flinch, didn't stammer, just said it like it was no big deal, only it was. Because here's what didn't sit right. Jean has smoked her whole life, but she's not careless. She can hold a cigarette like a damn ballerina holds a ribbon. Graceful, effortless, no ashes falling, not even when she's gesturing wildly mid-rant. She's the type who flicks ash in the tray without looking and never misses. And we've hugged a million times. Close, tight, sometimes desperate, sometimes lazy. 15 years together, and never once did she burn my clothes. Not once. Now, suddenly there's a hole in my robe? She said, "When I hugged you?" But I couldn't remember the last time she hugged me like that. Not in a real way. Not close enough for skin. Not with her body pressed into mine. Our touches had become distant, polite, quick, like we were strangers who didn't want to admit it. I nodded slowly, acted like I bought it. I even smiled a little and mumbled, "Makes sense." But inside, something started to curl in on itself. It wasn't about the robe. It was about the lie. The second alarm bell came from our parrot, Louis, our African gray, that old loudmouth. I'd nearly given him away once because I couldn't take his nonstop chatter at 5 in the morning. He's noisy, goofy, and has a habit of repeating everything he hears, especially if he hears it often. I hated that bird for years, mostly because he'd start squawking at 5 a.m. like he had stocks to trade. But that morning, Louis said something different, something that made my stomach drop straight through the kitchen floor. I'd just come back from a brutal night shift. Burn victims, a code blue, a 91-year-old who flatlined while holding my hand. I was running on caffeine and guilt and the smell of antiseptic. I dropped my bag by the door, kicked off my shoes. The house was quiet. Jean was either still asleep or already out. Goldie, our daughter, was at school, and Louis? Louis greeted me with a voice that wasn't mine. "Charlie, baby, come to me," he squawked, sing-song, like a goddamn Valentine's Day card. I froze mid-step. "What?" He tilted his head at me, blinking like he'd just told me the weather. "Charlie, baby," he repeated, softer this time. Then a kiss sound. A kiss. It echoed in the silence like a loaded gun. I walked up to his cage slowly. My mouth was dry. My pulse wasn't racing. It was slowing down, heavy, thick. "What did you just say?" I whispered. Louis fluffed his feathers and bounced a little. "Charlie, baby, mwah!" And just like that, everything snapped into place. My name isn't Charlie. I've never called Jean baby. I've never said, "Come to me," in that tone. That wasn't me. Louis only repeats things he hears a lot, over and over again. It's the only way he learns them. I tried to make sense of it. Maybe it came from Goldie. Maybe my daughter had a boyfriend. Maybe she'd snuck him in when we were out. Maybe she was practicing some romantic line she heard on TikTok. She's 14. She's growing up fast. She's got that age where you blink and suddenly she's got eyeliner and opinions and mood swings that make no sense. But that didn't sit right either. We had rules. Jean and I had been clear. No dating until 16. That was the rule. Still too young. So maybe she was sneaking someone in? A boy named Charlie slipping through the door when we weren't home, while I was working night shifts, while Jean was at the gym or doing groceries. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. My whole body heated up. She was going to get an earful when she got home from school. Not for the crush, I could handle that, but for the lying, for bringing some stranger into the house where her family lived, for breaking the trust she hadn't fully earned yet. At the time, I couldn't even entertain the other possibility. The worse one, the one closer to the truth, that Jean was cheating. The idea seemed insane, impossible. She's the mother of my kid. We'd been through so much together. Infertility treatment, hospital visits, debt, home renovations, the stress of buying a house. We'd survived more than most couples ever do, and I thought we'd come out stronger. But Louis's words stuck in my head like a splinter. "Charlie, baby." Goldie came home from school a little after 3. I was sitting at the kitchen table, still in my scrubs, sipping coffee that had gone cold a long time ago. I hadn't changed. I hadn't slept. The house was too quiet, and the words Louis had said were still bouncing around the walls like ghosts. I heard her drop her backpack by the front door and kick off her sneakers. Her usual routine, a small grunt of relief, a sigh, the light creak of the floor as she walked into the kitchen. "Hey," she said, blinking when she saw me sitting there. "You're home early?" "Yeah," I said. "Come sit for a second." She hesitated. It was small, but I caught it. A flicker in her eyes, a subtle pause, like she'd picked up something in my tone and didn't quite know what to do with it. Still, she sat across from me, pulled her sleeves down over her wrists, like she used to when she was little and nervous. "What's up?" I looked at her, really looked. There was this moment of stillness between us. Not silence, not tension, just stillness. Like the world paused to see who would blink first. I took a breath. "Who's Charlie?" Her eyebrows scrunched. "What?" "Louis said something this morning," I said quietly. "He said, 'Charlie, baby, come to me.'" Twice. Then he made a kissing sound. She stared at me. "I wanted to ask you if you've ever said that around him," I said. "Maybe joking. Maybe with a friend?" Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Her brain was clearly sprinting to catch up with the question. No," she said finally. "I mean, no, I've never said anything like that." "Are you sure?" "Dad, seriously, no. I don't even know anyone named Charlie." I kept watching her. She didn't squirm. She didn't break eye contact. But her face, there was confusion there, genuine, and maybe a little hurt that I was even asking. "I haven't brought anyone over," she added, a little softer. "If that's what you're thinking." I had to ask. I watched her closely. Her lips trembled a little, shoulders slumped just slightly, the way kids do when they feel cornered but don't know why. But there was no lie in her voice. There was something else. She sounded hurt. "You don't believe me?" she asked, barely audible. I didn't answer right away, because the truth was, I didn't know. "It's just a weird situation," I said finally, "and I can't figure out where Louis could have picked it up." "Well, it wasn't from me," she said, voice rising a notch. "I don't know what he heard, but I didn't say that. I swear, Dad." "All right." I rubbed my hands over my face, exhausted. "Okay." She stayed still, watching me. Then softly, "I'm not lying?" I nodded, but the doubt clung to the back of my skull like a whisper. What if she's covering? What if she already knows how? It didn't sound like Goldie, but kids change, sometimes faster than you realize. I sighed. "Go ahead, head to your room." She didn't move right away. Sat there a few more seconds, then stood up and walked off without a word. No backpack, no slam of the door, just gone. I stayed there for another 5 minutes, staring at nothing. I wish I could say I believed her completely, but the truth was I didn't have a reason not to believe her. And that was somehow worse, which meant that only left John. My head was buzzing. I kept trying to convince myself that maybe this could still be explained. Maybe Jean had just said something by accident near the bird. Maybe she was on the phone. Maybe it was nothing. I didn't want to believe she could cheat. She was my person, my history. We'd built this life together, brick by brick, year after year. Slowly, painfully. Honestly, I didn't want to believe it. But parrots don't make things up. They only repeat. That evening, she came home like nothing was wrong. Bag on her shoulder, car keys jingling, phone already in her hand as she walked through the door. She toed off her shoes, called out a half-hearted, "Hey!" and made a beeline for the kitchen without even looking at me. I followed her in. She opened the fridge, pulled out a bottle of water, and leaned on the counter like her day had been long and exhausting. Probably was. Being two people takes effort. "Jean," I said, flat. She glanced over, raised a brow. "Yeah? Who's Charlie?" Her hand paused mid-cap twist. She looked at me then, straight on, eyes slightly narrowed. Not surprised, just calculating. "Excuse me?" "Charlie," I repeated. "Our parrot repeated something this morning, twice." "Charlie, baby, come to me," followed by a kissing sound. She stared at me like I'd just said the moon was made of cheese. "You're seriously going off what a bird said?" "I'm going off the fact that he only repeats things he hears often, consistently. And in our house, there's only 3 people he listens to. Me, you, and Goldie." "Well then, maybe it's Goldie," she snapped, too quickly. "I asked her. She could be lying." "She isn't." Jean set the bottle down harder than necessary. "This is ridiculous," she said, voice sharp now. "You think I'm cheating on you because the bird said something?" And that's when Jean laughed. A real laugh. Not nervous, not fake. A full, amused laugh, like I'd just told her the punchline of a joke. It jolted me like cold water. "Oh, Kevin," she said, shaking her head. "Are you serious? It's probably from the TV. You know how I love those cheesy dramas. He probably picked it up from one of those. Don't do this, please. Don't make this a thing." She walked over and rested her hand on my shoulder. Her fingers were warm. The touch was gentle, comforting, but the unease had already settled inside me. It was there now, coiled somewhere deep, quiet and constant. I nodded, let her think I'd dropped it, let her believe she'd calmed me down, but my head was still buzzing, like a live wire under the surface, like an ember buried deep in an ashtray, nothing to see, not yet, but still burning. My gut, the same instinct that had pulled me through the worst nights in the ER, was whispering just one thing. Something's wrong. I couldn't explain it, couldn't prove it, but I knew. That night was the last one I spent at home, because of the last proof of her cheating. The next day, I got home earlier than usual. My head wasn't pounding from exhaustion. It was the thoughts, sharp, relentless, spinning like dull blades, slicing up my chest from the inside out. I dropped my keys on the shelf, shrugged off my jacket, and then I heard it. "Kevin's blind as a bat. Kiss me harder." The voice echoed through the empty apartment. "Louis." I stepped into the living room. He was perched on his swing, bobbing his head like he was proud of himself, like he was performing. "Kiss me harder," he said again, this time softer, almost sweet, like a whisper in the dark, like a lover who forgot to lock the bedroom door. I felt physically sick. She'd laughed in my face, lied, looking me dead in the eye, put her hand on my shoulder, the same hand that maybe just an hour earlier had touched someone else, and that someone had a name. Charlie. I sat down on the edge of the couch. My eyes stung. My throat tightened. And the worst part, I saw it, clear as day. The image slammed into my mind like it had always been there. Jean in our bedroom. Her laughter, the door slightly ajar. A flash of lightning through the window. Tia. And that voice. That voice, now coming out of my goddamn parrot's mouth. This wasn't just betrayal. This was humiliation. In our home, in our bed, under our roof, while I was out saving strangers, men, children, old women, someone else was walking into my house and into her arms. My stomach turned. I barely made it to the bathroom. I leaned hard over the sink, gripping both sides, staring down into the white porcelain, trying not to lose it. This wasn't nausea from something I ate. This was her. This was the image in my head, the weight of the truth pressing down, too real to deny. This wasn't suspicion anymore, it was fact. She's cheating on me, and I don't even care why anymore. Now I need to know who. And once I know, everything changes. I won't swallow this. I won't forgive it. I won't forget. She's going to regret it. But first, I'm going to find out exactly who the hell Charlie is. That same day, I decided to act. I didn't want to keep waiting, guessing, catching myself not trusting the woman I'd spent half my life with. So I went to her office. No warning. Just showed up in the lobby with a box of her favorite croissants and a warm, "Hey, honey." I played it cool, like it was a sweet surprise, lunch invite, a reminder that I still remembered, still cared, still loved her. She didn't come out right away. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, she appeared, phone in hand, a smile on her face. But I knew that smile. It wasn't warmth. It was cover. "Oh, Kevin, surprise," she said. "What are you doing here?" "Just wanted to see you," I said. "Take you out to lunch. I missed you." She nodded, but her jaw was a little tight. And that half-second pause, right before she answered, I saw it. Then, from behind a cubicle, a voice rang out. "Jean, Charlie was looking for you." I felt the blood rush to my temples. There it was. That's why she tensed up when she saw me. Charlie, he worked here. I looked straight at her. She let out a small breath and called back, casual. "Charlie, what did you need?" I turned around and saw him, gray hair, short, wearing a mint green sweater, hunched with a cough that looked like it might break his back. 65, maybe older. He shuffled toward us, holding a stack of papers and a plastic thermos. Raised one hand, smiled politely. "Sorry," he said to Jean. "Just needed to double-check the supplier payments." I stood there, frozen. This wasn't him, not that Charlie, not the one whose voice had echoed through my home, not the one whispering to my wife in our bedroom. I wanted to curse, loudly. Instead, I smiled. "Charlie?" "Yeah, the accountant," Jean said, shrugging. "Sweet old man, bit of a bore. He should have retired years ago, but everyone feels too bad to say it." I nodded, stepped back like it all made sense now. But my head was still buzzing. It's not him. That's not the voice, not even close. Just a dead end. A decoy. I took a slow breath, forced a grin. "Hey, I just remembered. I've got to stop by the garage. Car's been making a weird noise. Meant to go yesterday, but forgot." "Oh, well, yeah, of course," she said. And that, of course, it landed wrong. Too easy. No surprise. No, you came all this way for nothing, just relief. Barely hidden, but it was there. I nodded, gave her a kiss on the cheek, simple, routine, like nothing was wrong. Then I left. Got in the car, hands on the steering wheel, didn't turn the key, just sat there, staring straight ahead, not seeing anything. I knew now. I couldn't stay under the same roof with her anymore. The thought made my skin crawl. This wasn't a suspicion anymore. This was reality. I just hadn't documented it yet, and I kept my mouth shut, because I knew how it works. No proof? You're not betrayed. You're paranoid. And she'd use that. She'd flip it, turn me into the dramatic, overly sensitive fool who imagined an affair. The world might believe her, and I'd be the one left holding the guilt, even if I was right. After leaving her office, I drove straight home, while Jean was still at work. I packed a few things, just the essentials. Then I walked through the house, room by room. I opened every drawer in the house like I was searching for some kind of map. I didn't find any hotel receipts or love notes or hidden phones. Jean was too smart for that. What I did find was how clean everything was. Too clean. Not a single misplaced receipt, no unwashed cup on the counter, no hint of anything out of routine, even though I knew something was. She was covering her tracks like a pro. Fine, I'd stop guessing. I drove to a store 20 minutes away. Not our usual Target, not the kind of place she or her friends might stumble into. I bought 3 tiny security cameras, discreet, one for the living room, one for the hallway near the bedrooms, one for our actual bedroom. I set them up in places even I had to squint to spot twice. Then I ran a few tests, made sure they worked, and I walked out of the house. That night, I sent her a message. "One of the guys at work's out with the flu. I'm covering some night shifts this week." She replied hours later, "Okay." That was it, just okay. No questions, no concern, no, "Everything all right?" Just a word that sounded like a door quietly closing. 2 days passed, 2 full nights at the hospital, 2 cold showers, 2 terrible coffees, and exactly 0 calls or texts from Jean asking if I was okay. No, "How'd you sleep?" No, "What did you eat?" No, "I miss you." Nothing. Even Goldie didn't text. That stung more than I expected. It was like I'd been erased from the schedule, like my absence wasn't just unnoticed, it was expected. And somehow, that hurt worse than all the suspicion put together. Then it happened. I found out who Charlie was. Not from the cameras, not from some whispered conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. It happened at Goldie's school. That Saturday was Goldie's baseball game. I hadn't missed one all season, and I wasn't about to start, no matter what kind of hell was unraveling behind the scenes. Whatever was going on between me and Jean, Goldie didn't ask for any of it. She still needed a dad who showed up, cheered, sat in the folding chairs, and yelled too loud when she caught a pop fly. I wasn't looking for Charlie that day, but he found me anyway. I pulled into the parking lot 10 minutes early. Jean was already there. Of course she was. She liked getting good seats, liked being seen chatting with the other moms. She had this way of making herself look effortlessly put together, even in a hoodie and sunglasses. I walked up behind the bleachers and spotted her standing near the dugout, talking to someone. She introduced us like it was nothing. "This is Charlie," she said, turning with that smooth, easy smile that used to belong to me. "He's one of the coaches." He stuck out his hand. "Nice to meet you, man. I've heard a lot about you." I looked at that hand. For half a second, my blood ran hot. This was him. Everything inside me locked up. My hand froze halfway. I smiled, because Goldie was standing right there, because kids were watching, because Jean was watching. Charlie, no doubt in my mind, my wife's lover, right there in front of me, holding out his hand like we were just a couple of dads meeting for the first time. No clue I knew. I wanted to break every bone in his palm, right there. No words, just one clean punch. I could see it in my head, my fist connecting with his jaw, sharp and loud. He stumbles back, maybe trips over someone's legs, hits the grass. He tries to stand, another blow, this time to the gut. His hands come up, confused, like someone trying to figure out why. I wanted to watch that smug, overconfident grin fall off his face. Wanted the confusion in his eyes to settle into fear. Wanted that moment to stick with him longer than any kiss he ever stole from my wife. But I didn't, for Goldie's sake. I just shook his sweaty hand. "Kevin!" His grip was too firm, the kind that overcompensates. His smile was a touch too wide. His eyes didn't meet mine for long. Jean was watching us both carefully, but she didn't say a word. The game started. I sat beside her, pretended to care about the weather, sipped from a bottle of warm water, and watched Goldie swing and run like her world was still whole. I clapped. I shouted her name. I did everything a good dad is supposed to do, but I was shaking with rage. After the game, the crowd thinned. Jean chatted with a few other parents. Goldie was still on the field, helping clean up. And Charlie? He was alone by his car, smoking, like he didn't have a care in the goddamn world. I watched from a distance, the way he held his cigarette. Lazy, loose, not paying attention. Ash fell on his hoodie sleeve and he didn't even brush it off. That's when it clicked. The robe, the burn. It wasn't Jean. It was him, wearing my clothes, in my house, with my wife, and leaving proof like he owned the place. I stood there with my hands in my pockets, staring at the man who'd crawled into my life like a snake, but I didn't move, because now it wasn't enough to knock him down. I wanted to destroy him, and I was going to do it the right way. I didn't wait anymore. The cameras could have caught him in our bed, on the damn kitchen table. It didn't matter. I didn't need footage. I didn't need recordings. I didn't need to spy. I'd seen enough. I told Jean I had to head back to work. She just shrugged and said, "Okay, just drop me and Goldie off at home." I nodded in silence. The drive was quiet. When we got to the house, I turned to Goldie and gently touched her shoulder. "Head to your room, okay?" She looked at me for a few seconds, said nothing, just nodded. She could feel it. Something was coming. Jean stood in the hallway, phone in hand, eyes empty, disconnected. "Who are you sleeping with?" I asked. She looked up, straight at me, not shocked, just flat. "What? Don't play. I know about Charlie." A flicker, just a small twitch in her pupils. Then came that familiar smirk, sharp and cold, gone just as quick. She paused, then shrugged. "You serious? Over some coach?" "Not a coach. A man you're sleeping with behind my back." "You're insane," she snapped. "This is ridiculous." She took a step closer, like she wanted to reason with me, convince me. "Ridiculous?" I said. "You think I'm going to swallow this after everything we've been through? How could you, John?" Her face hardened. Then the knife. "You're not some noble saint. You're cold. Distant. You brought this on yourself, Kevin. You're never home. You don't see me. Don't want to see me. I'm still alive. I need passion, not just your worn-out silence after a shift. Don't do that, Jean. Don't spin this around on me. My voice was calm, steady. Don't lie to both of us. I've always wanted you. There was never anyone else. Remember the canyon when I pulled out that ring on the edge of the world? I meant it. I thought it was forever. And I held on, Jean, to us, right up to the end. I would have kept holding on if you hadn't cheated. She said nothing. It's done, Jean. I'm filing for divorce, and I don't want to see you again. Her mouth curled into a bitter smile. Cold, familiar. That same smirk she used when she wanted to hurt. Go ahead, she said. But the house is mine, and Goldie's staying with me. The house meant nothing to me. But Goldie? Goldie did. I couldn't imagine my daughter growing up in that house, under the roof of a woman who could lie this easily, with a straight face, a woman who'd traded honesty for convenience, family for attention. She didn't just betray me. She betrayed everything we built. I stepped in closer, looked her in the eye. You're not taking Goldie, I said. She's staying with me. She smiled again, this time like we'd just laid our cards on the table. We'll see, Jean said. Then Goldie appeared in the doorway. She stood there, pale, eyes wide. What's going on? She looked from me to Jean, then back to me. Her voice hit harder than anything Jean had said. It cut straight through me. And for the first time in all this, I felt ashamed, not because of what I said, but because she heard it, because she had to see us like this, because we failed her. I took a step toward her, voice calm, though something inside me had already caught fire. Goldie, just listen. I was trying to... She pulled back. You deserve to be cheated on. Mom didn't do anything wrong. I froze. She said it like she'd been holding it in. What? I barely whispered. My lungs couldn't find enough air to say it louder. I don't respect you. Her voice didn't rise, but it shook. You're a liar. A fake. You've been pretending to be the good guy, but you're not even close. Her fists clenched. Her whole body trembled. You cheated on Mom first, she screamed through tears. She told me everything, and now you're blaming her? I just stood there. Nothing came out. Nothing worked. That's not true, Goldie, I managed to say. My voice sounded hollow, broken, like it belonged to someone else. She looked straight into my eyes, and there wasn't a drop of belief in her. I can't even look at you, she shouted and ran upstairs. Door slammed. Silence. I just stood there, frozen in the wreckage of her words. I never in my life had I cheated on Jean. Not once. Not in thought, not in glance. All these years I'd lived for them. For her, for Goldie. I worked double shifts. I gave up vacations. I ran on empty just so they could have what they needed. And now my own daughter was looking at me like I was the villain. Where the hell did she get that from? I didn't understand until I slowly lifted my eyes. Jean's smiling, not happy, victorious, like she'd just won the first round. And I knew then she'd been planning this. She'd poisoned our daughter's trust before I ever had a chance to speak. You told her that? My voice cracked. You lied to our daughter to cover your affair? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The smile on her lips was barely there. Just the corners, curled like a cat licking its paw after swallowing a bird whole. I took a step toward her, wanted to say something, anything. But I stopped. I started, but didn't finish. Not because I didn't have the words, but because I refused to sink to her level. I didn't speak to her after that. Didn't scream. Didn't chase after Goldie. Didn't say another word. I went upstairs, opened my closet, pulled out a duffel bag, and started packing. 2 changes of clothes, my shaving kit, the watch my dad left me, a few photos of Goldie from before everything went rotten. That was it. Jean didn't follow me. I heard her in the kitchen, moving around like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just watched her weaponize our child against me and smile about it. I came back down 10 minutes later, bag slung over my shoulder, keys in hand. She was by the sink, scrolling her phone. Calm. You leaving? She asked, like she was talking about a plumber finishing a job. I am, I said. She didn't turn around. Where to? Somewhere that doesn't stink of you. She let out a breath that might have been a laugh. You're pathetic, she said, running off like a coward. I turned to her. I'm not running, I said. I'm regrouping. She finally looked at me. I'm going to fight for Goldie, I told her. And I'm going to win. Not because I'm perfect. Not because I have some magic trick up my sleeve. But because when the dust settles and the lies stop spinning, the truth will be the only thing left standing. She said nothing, so I added quietly, and you'll be standing alone. Then I walked out the door. Didn't slam it, didn't look back, just left. Because I still had cards to play, and she had no idea how sharp they were. I went back to the hospital. I needed time to cool down before making my first move. The next morning, I was sitting in the break room, sipping coffee, trying to clear my head, when someone knocked on the door. Goldie, backpack on her shoulder, eyes red. I stood up fast. She didn't say anything, just walked into my arms and started crying. My hands tightened around her. "It's okay," I said. "Whatever it is, it's okay. I'm here." We sat down. It took a few minutes for her to calm down enough to talk, and then quietly, "I heard Mom talking on the phone this morning." I waited. "She was talking to him. Charlie. She didn't know I was awake." Goldie rubbed her sleeve across her cheek. "She said that that you found out, and that no one would believe you because she already told everyone you cheated first." My stomach sank. "She said even I would back her up," Goldie whispered, "because I'm just a dumb kid who trusts what she's told." Her voice cracked at that, and that was it. The dam broke. She cried harder than I'd ever seen, full-body sobs, not the kind you fake, the kind that rips something open. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. I didn't know, Dad." "Hey," I said, pulling her in again. "You didn't do anything wrong. Do you hear me? Nothing. She lied to you." I thought it was true. "I know. I said such awful things to you." "Goldie, look at me." She did. "You're not the reason this happened. None of it is your fault." She wiped her face on her sleeve. "Dad, please don't tell anyone Mom's having an affair with the coach." "Why not?" "Because if it gets out at school, they'll make fun of me. They'll say I'm just like her, that my mom sleeps with people's husbands, and that someday I will too." I didn't know what to say right away. I just held her tighter. She was still a kid, even if she tried to act grown, and her world had just cracked open, not because of some big truth, but because her mom turned out to be someone she didn't recognize anymore. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" she asked, barely above a whisper. "Yes." Simple, no explanation, none needed. Her hands trembled. "I don't want to live with her," she whispered. "Not after this." My throat tightened. "I want to stay with you." I nodded, pulling her closer. "And I want that too," I said. "But it's not just up to us. We'll have to fight for it." She didn't say anything, just sat there with me, quiet. Before she left, I asked her for one thing. "There's a black box in the closet in my bedroom. It looks like a router. No antennas. Grab it for me and bring it here. It's the camera footage. Don't tell anyone." She didn't ask questions, just nodded, pulled her hood up, and walked out. Late that night, I drove by the house. I didn't get out of the car. She'd left it exactly where I told her to, inside the old toolbox, under the back stairs. Everything was there, exactly as I needed. I checked into a motel off the highway, one of those low, single-story places with red neon flickering in the window, the kind of place you don't look too closely at. Inside, it smelled like cheap disinfectant and stale AC. Plastic-rimmed sink, cracked light cover, a mattress so soft you sank straight through it like wet sand. But I could breathe here. Without her. I needed to prove Jean and Charlie weren't just fooling around once or twice. I needed to show it had been going on for a while. I had to figure out how they coordinated, how she let him know when I was working when the coast was clear, and I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't do this alone. So I called someone you don't call unless you mean it. Tom Murphy, ex-cop, now a private investigator. There are plenty like him, guys who couldn't stomach the politics, or guys who wanted to work by their own rules. Tom was one of the latter. Short, solid, eyes like he'd stared too long at too much truth, stubble that didn't care there was a morning coming. We met in his office, second floor of a crumbling business strip between a car wash and an electronics store. The door had a peeling sign, Murphy Investigations. Inside, a creaky chair, a desk stained with coffee rings, and an ashtray with two smoldering butts already smoking before I even walked in. "Talk," he said, and I did. Not all of it. Not the emotions, not the betrayal, just the facts. Jean, Charlie, night shifts, the robe, the bird, the cameras. Charlie, our kid's baseball coach. I said, they're sleeping together. I just can't catch it on paper. I need to know how they're staying in touch. Phone, messenger, email, anything. When they meet, where? I need it locked down. Ironclad. Something that'll hold up in court. Tom listened. Didn't nod. Didn't comment. Just absorbed every detail like they were puzzle pieces falling into place. When I finished, he sat back. You still love her? He asked. I looked out the window, watched a semi roll past, slow and loud. No, I said. I just want her to hurt like I did. Tom nodded once. All right then. He pulled a small notebook from his pocket. You said she's smart. Covers her tracks. Too smart, I said. But she's not perfect. No one is, he said. Give me a few days. I didn't know that the next day, things had already started unraveling at school for Goldie. From first period, something felt off. Nobody teased her. Nobody said anything to her face. But the room was quiet. Not the normal kind of quiet. This was the kind that tightens your shoulders and makes the back of your neck itch. She felt the looks. People turning, whispering, sharing something on their phones. She caught the movements, the shifts in energy, and whenever she turned around, everything stopped. During the break near the lockers, she heard it. The kind of half-laugh people don't bother hiding until a teacher walks by. She's probably just like her mom, someone muttered behind her. Yeah, likes coaches too, another voice added. Goldie stopped walking. Her face changed. Just like that, blanked out and sharp at the same time. She turned slowly. 3 guys stood near the lockers. One holding a phone, one chewing gum, the third already looking at the floor. What did you just say? She asked. Her voice was clear, steady. Nothing, one mumbled. Just must be cool to have a popular mom, right? At least she's got taste, the other said. Unlike your dad. Shut your mouth, Goldie said. What? The one with the phone grinned. She was totally cozying up to the coach. You see the video? He unlocked the screen and turned it toward her. A few seconds of shaky footage. Her mother, Jean, on the school bleachers, sitting too close to the coach. Him leaning in, whispering something, her hand brushing his, her head tilting in too far, too familiar. Goldie knocked the phone out of his hand. I said shut your mouth, she repeated. Oh yeah? He smirked. What, you mad because you're going to end up just like her? Shut up, she screamed and lunged. It all happened fast. She stepped forward and slapped the phone across the floor, then grabbed the boy by the chest, twisted his shirt in her fists and shoved, hard. He stumbled, lost his footing, and hit the floor with a thud. The other 2 jumped in. One grabbed her arm, the other her shoulder. She fought like a wild thing, swinging blindly at arms, ribs, hands, anywhere she could reach. The hits didn't hurt, not really, but the rage behind them stunned them both. Because in her eyes, it wasn't just anger. It was everything. Pain, humiliation, fury. She wasn't fighting to win. She was fighting to make them stop talking. Don't you dare talk about my parents. You hear me? Tears were streaming down her face now, but she wasn't stopping. They tried to hold her, and she kept swinging, kept shouting. The whole hallway froze in place, eyes wide. Her voice broke through everything. Loud, ragged, raw. Enough! The gym teacher's voice snapped through the chaos like a whip. He yanked a hand away from her, pulled her by the elbow, and walked her straight to the wall. Everyone back to class. Now. The boys backed off without a word. One bent down, picked up the phone, glanced at it, didn't say a thing. The teacher looked at Goldie. Her shoulders were shaking. Her shirt had slipped down one side. Her cheeks were wet, but she didn't speak. Goldie, nurse's office, then the assistant principal, go. She nodded, didn't say a word. She walked the hallway slow, straight, never looked back. Her shoulders locked tight, her spine stiff. Her hands clenched the straps of her backpack so hard her knuckles went white. She walked through the noise like it wasn't even there. Her body was buzzing, not from shame, from rage, from betrayal, seeping through her skin like heat. Because the worst had already happened. This wasn't rumor. It wasn't whispers. It was a video. It was everywhere. Her mom was a joke now, and her last name, a target. 4 days later, Tom called. His voice was dry as usual, no buildup. There's movement. Let's talk. We met in the same office. Second floor, peeling walls, that familiar mix of burnt coffee and motor oil drifting in from the street. Tom sat at his desk, hunched slightly forward in an old jacket, holding a plastic cup in one hand. The coffee inside was long cold, but he held it like it helped him think. What have you got? I asked, sitting down. She's got 2 phones, he said. What? I blinked, didn't register it right away. One's her main, he continued. That one's clean. Messages, photos, socials, looks like someone with nothing to hide. He paused, then added, but there's another, small, no case, no personal photos. She keeps it in her makeup bag. Looks like a backup, but it's very active. I sat in silence. She uses it for one thing, Charlie, messaging only, no calls, no history, no syncs. It's hard to track, but he took a fake sip from the empty cup, more out of habit than thirst. I got access, lifted it off her table at a cafe, slid a ghost program on it, returned it before she noticed. It mirrors all incoming and outgoing data, runs in the background, they won't know. But I see everything, and now you will too. He turned the screen toward me. A tablet, basic interface, message list. I read the top line. Gene. See. I tapped it and I scrolled. He has no idea how boring he is. That was incredible. I can still feel you. When Goldie's at school, come over. We'll have a few hours. I always imagined it was you when he kissed me. Line after line. I didn't speak. I didn't ask. I just kept scrolling, thumb steady. It didn't hurt. It made me sick and angry. Their fantasies, their plans, phrases that used to be ours, now twisted, reused. Her short voice notes, laughing, his dumb emojis, their codes, photos from the car, from the gym, from our bed, my bed. And then it turned, from just betrayal to contempt. She talked about me like I was a burden, like I was something broken, lying around too long. He disappeared as a man. I've been living beside him, not with him. I couldn't pretend anymore. Tom didn't say a word, just waited, letting it sit. When I finally stopped scrolling, he said calmly, "It's all saved. Messages, attachments, locations. If you go to court, this'll stick." I nodded once. That everything? For now. But I'm still watching. I closed the tablet, pushed it aside. One thought kept me steady. I was now one day closer to revenge. It was a typical evening shift, nothing unusual. Some routine dressing changes, one elderly patient with a panic attack, two drunk teenagers who'd scraped themselves up falling off scooters. Bet they'll post it on TikTok later, one of the nurses muttered as we wheeled them out. Dude tried to do a tail whip and ended up face first in a bush, the other added, shaking her head. I was finishing my coffee, half watching a rerun on the break room TV with the sound off, when the crash victims came in. 3 of them, car accident. Apparently, the driver had drifted off and slammed into a parked vehicle on the side of the road, probably distracted by a phone. I've seen it 100 times. One of the EMTs pulled me aside. Got a couple in the parked car. They were, mid-event when the other car plowed into them. What kind of event? I asked. He gave me a look. You'll see. The injuries weren't much. Scrapes, a few bruises, one fractured forearm, nothing that made headlines. But the details? Those were more interesting than the injuries. Because in the parked car, the one they got hit in, there were 2 people. A man and a woman, half-dressed. She still had one heel on. He was trying to hold a blanket over his lap while wincing through the pain. Didn't even see him coming, the man mumbled as they rolled him in. We were just sitting there, talking. You didn't need to be a detective to figure out what was going on when the other car hit them. And when I walked up to the gurney and saw his face, I stopped cold. It was him. Charlie, the same Charlie. His eyes flicked up at me for a second. Recognition. Just a flash. Then he looked away. He knew. Only the woman beside him? Not Jean, not my wife. It was the mother of one of Goldie's classmates. Her name came to me instantly. Amanda. She volunteered during school picture day. I remembered the loud laugh, the tight workout clothes, the kind of woman who always had a Starbucks cup in her hand and a phone she never put down. That's when everything clicked. He wasn't just with Jean. He was sleeping with multiple moms from the school at the same time. A full-blown affair carousel. Another nurse leaned in. You good? You look like you've seen a ghost. Something like that, I said quietly. I stood there, just inside the doorway, holding the patient's chart and picturing the moment Jean would find out, the moment it would land on her, that she wasn't special, that their little love story was just another box on his checklist, that she was standard issue. Nothing more. Not unique, not the one, just one of many. Charlie shifted on the stretcher, winced. Can I get something for the pain or? I'll check with trauma, the nurse said, professionally blank. But that wasn't even the punchline. The driver, the one who slammed into Charlie and his passenger, it was her husband, David. Met him once at a parent night. Wore polos tucked in too tight, firm handshake, too much eye contact. Apparently, he'd found out, put the pieces together, and instead of collecting evidence or filing for divorce, he drove straight into them. One of the paramedics lowered his voice near the nurse's station. Said he saw them from across the lot, waited, watched, then stepped on the gas. Jesus, someone muttered. That's not rage, that's calculation. Guy's done. Reckless endangerment, possibly attempted manslaughter if the DA pushes. I walked over to set up his IV. He looked up. You know? He asked, voice low. I do now. He stared at the floor, then back at me. I tracked her phone for weeks, knew something was off. She started coming home late, smelling like his damn cologne, like she didn't even try to hide it. I didn't say anything. I parked across the street, watched him laugh in that car like it was a damn rom-com. His voice cracked a little. I lost it. I exhaled through my nose. Yeah. You ever do something you knew you'd regret while you were still doing it? I looked him in the eye. I'm about to. He nodded. No shock in his face. Just that dead weight look men get when they've crossed the line and stopped caring. He swallowed hard. I didn't mean to hit them that hard. I just wanted them to feel it, not die, just feel something. He didn't need to explain. He already had. Now he's facing charges, reckless endangerment, court dates, a mountain of medical bills. Me? I'll do it differently. My revenge will be cleaner, sharper, more elegant, and a hell of a lot more satisfying, but one step at a time. After that night, I called Tom. Dig deeper, I said. I want names. I want to know who else he's sleeping with. Which parents know, who suspects, every single thing. A few days later, Tom came back with a list. 8 names, all married moms, all connected to the school. I sat with the list in front of me and knew this was the key, and I was going to use it exactly the way it needed to be used. When everything was ready, I filed for divorce. But I wasn't about to let a process server or lawyer deliver the papers. No, I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to see her face when it happened. I walked into her office like I had every right to be there. I did, in a way. The receptionist recognized me and let me through without a word. It was just another weekday morning. Someone pouring coffee in the kitchenette, a secretary typing without looking up, the buzz of printers and soft clicks of heels on tile. Jean was at her desk. Hey, I said calmly. This is for you. I laid the envelope on the table. She glanced at it, then smiled, a slow, smug smile. So, she said softly, you want a war? By all means, I replied, but you're the one who's going to lose. She scoffed, smirked wider. Oh, really? She said. You actually believe that? I sat down across from her. No rush. Took another envelope from my bag. This is a copy of what's going to court, I said, including video footage from inside our home. Her smile faded. Footage that clearly shows you letting Charlie into the house at night while Goldie's asleep in the next room. Not a great look for a mother. She blinked. I'll also be submitting testimony and screenshots showing how you manipulated our daughter into thinking I cheated. Emotional coercion of a minor. It's not about parental trust. That plays very badly in custody hearings. She went quiet, just for a few seconds. People were walking past now, co-workers with coffee cups, phones in hand. No one said a word, but they were listening. You think you've won? She hissed. I think, I said, leaning in slightly. This is going to be interesting. You think the court's just going to hand over my child? I think after today there's a good chance you'll walk away without Goldie, and without the house. I've filed for full custody. Now she laughed, sharp, nervous. You think a judge is going to give you full custody? Please, I continued. Oh, and one more thing, I added. Calm, steady. I'm filing a civil suit against Charlie for alienation of affection, perfectly legal in this state. Odds are he'll be bankrupt when it's over. What the hell are you talking about? He's not just getting one lawsuit. What? He's getting 8. 8 from 8 husbands. She froze. Your precious Charlie has been sleeping with 8 different women at the same time, most of whom you know. Their kids go to school with Goldie. She stared at me. Then it hit her, and she snapped. You're lying. No, I said. And, by the way, one of them is pregnant. Could be his. You're lying. See in court. And that's when she snapped. Jean lunged at me, fists flying, no restraint left in her. She struck me in the shoulder. The next missed, just glanced off my side. Then she was grabbing at me, clawing at my jacket like yanking it off could somehow undo what was already done. Like anything she did now could change it. Her face was twisted with rage. "Go to hell!" she screamed, her voice cracking as co-workers rushed in to pull her back. Someone grabbed her by the arm, but she thrashed wildly, kicking, shoving, hitting blindly at hands, at faces. "I hate you." Her boss tried to get a hold of her, reached out, she twisted violently and bit him, right on the forearm. His scream rang out down the hallway, blood welled up instantly. Security arrived fast. Someone had already pressed the panic button. 2 guards pinned her arms behind her back, forcing her down. She kept thrashing, cursing, gasping. The entire office had gone still, frozen. Someone held a coffee cup mid-air, eyes locked on her. Another still wore headphones, jaw hanging open. Her coworker, the one who'd laughed with her at the coffee machine just yesterday, stood motionless, expression blank, stunned into silence. I straightened my shirt, looked at the secretary. She was at her desk, fingers suspended over her keyboard, her face pale with shock. "Have a good day," I said, calm as ever. And I walked out. I had somewhere to be. Goldie was waiting for me at school. We had plans, conversations to have about the future, about a new home, one without lies, and without people who call betrayal a need for passion.